Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Financial Advocate Podcast. Ryan Stark, Colin Meeks here with you. We're going to do a case study today, and we've been getting a pretty good response on the case studies we've been doing, Ryan. So I think it's good that we're sort of putting things out there, showing people how we do business, why planning is important, and all those things that come along with it. So in our monthly newsletter, if you're on our newsletter list, and we actually put a stamp on this and mail it to you in the mail, so that's kind of old school right off the bat. It's not an email, but we always send out some sort of stuffer in there that sort of updates people on current interest rates and if there's a different product offering or something, just to sort of as a conversation starter. So last month, and if you're listening to this, you won't see it, but if you're looking at it on YouTube, you will. But we threw an insert in there just updating folks on what current fixed rates are, because as interest rates rise, people tend to start paying a little bit more attention to their savings and things that they can do with their savings to get a little bit better interest rates. So in last month's newsletter, we put one in there that was about a fixed annuity product. And it usually could be anything. Sometimes we use CDs, sometimes we use other types of financial products, but we always get a handful of calls, and one of the things, and one of the hard things to do with people is that they call up and they'll say, hey, Ryan, I've got X amount of dollars that I want to invest in there. Just send me the paperwork. And Ryan, tell people how we handle those calls.
I think putting out the flyer is great, a great conversation starter, and sometimes people look at it as to be very transactional. I think they look at us and they say, okay, this is what they do and this is their product. But what we do is run them through the same process that we described, I think, in a previous case study, but we run them through the same 2-meeting process. Take the call, listen to what they say, grab the details, and then I let them know how we make sure that this product is right for them, which is to put them through our process and to sit down with them, see everything they have, and then make sure that this is right for them, and that we think as financial planners that this product is going to fill in the gaps of their financial plan.
Yeah, or it may not, and that's the whole idea of the process. And and that's a real good way to describe it. And I'll give you two separate calls that we had this month, just to illustrate that process. A lady I'd never met before. She's been on the newsletter list for, I don't know, maybe even 10 years. This at the right time, she got this in her mailbox and it piqued her interest, so she called. And she said, she just started asking all kinds of questions. And I said, well, I explained to her, hey, we meet with people. We charge a fee to meet with people. We want to get to know you a little bit on the front end. And then at the end of that first meeting, we'll offer a second meeting where we'll put together recommendations based on what we've learned. And if indeed this particular product is the right thing for you, we will fit it into our recommendations. And if it's not, we'll also tell you that as well. So we went a little bit back and forth, and she was a little bit... she just was kind of in a hurry to, she just liked the rate and she liked, what she was reading, and she just said, I just want to put X amount of dollars in here, send me out the paperwork. So I, again, explained to her the process, and I asked her if she's working with a financial advisor, and she said she is. I offered to get in touch with the advisor and just explain to her, or explain to them, the product, and because we want her to implement it in her plan, and whether that includes us or not is fine by us, but we don't want to do something that takes her away from her existing plan. So we didn't want to just accept her money and say, okay, let's put this into place and decide a year down the road, or figure out a year down the road it really wasn't the right thing to do. So at the end of the conversation, I sort of she really didn't come to any sort of agreement. So I offered to mail her out the information, and if she was interested to give us a call back. So that's basically what we did. But the key that came out of that was that we weren't we don't want to do any harm. We don't want to. I could have very easily just said, okay, here's the paperwork. She wanted to put $25,000 in. We would have made a commission on it, and it may or may not have been the right thing to do. And we just, that's not the way that our practice is set up to do business. Ryan, why don't you? The second case, you actually talked to the guy, so why don't you take us through how that worked?
Yeah, so I got a call, and he was interested in the rate, same as your call. When I described the process, he seemed interested. He wasn't working with a financial planner, so we weren't worried about crossing hairs or anything. And really, we don't mind if people are working with a planner. I'll even suggest that you can get contracted with this company. He can provide the fixed annuity. Maybe he already is. You can go back and ask them, whatever. But in this situation, he was actually interested in coming in and getting kind of a look up. And what we do is scrubbing the financial plan and making sure this is right for him. He was specifically interested because he had some bonds that weren't doing well, and he was just kind of rate shopping and wanted something to be higher. But that's not always best. Asking him a lot of times, making sure he doesn't need the money, and whether he needs it in 3 years. And sometimes it's up to us, the planners, to look even further than the person we're working with will look. Making a couple extra bucks is great, but depending on your age, depending on your plan, whatever else you have, it might not be right for you. So he sat down with us for one meeting, and now we're going to go through everything and provide some recommendations in the second meeting to see if he still wants to move forward with this.
Yeah, and we sort of call that the the long and skinny approach as opposed to the deep and wide. And we try to go deep and wide. And what we found out in meeting with this particular person for an hour. This may or may not be the right product for him and his wife, but I mean, we found out so much stuff. I mean, he had rental real estate. He had a business that he was thinking about selling. He had what did he have? One of his accounts was 100% invested in something that may or may not be suitable, and we're going to go through that with him in the next meeting. Some of the titling on his accounts was not correct, or not. I won't say not correct, but it wasn't. It wasn't a mirror image of what he thought it was. So we uncovered like a whole list of things, and we didn't go through it at that meeting. We will put together our standard recommendation sheet for the next meeting and go through all that with him. But I don't even think we got into talking about what sparked his interest to call, which was this this fixed rate that we put in our newsletter until the very end of it. He sort of pulled out some papers and said, okay, here's what I want to talk about, and that's how that came about. So it's just a very process based thing that we do.
Yeah, this will actually probably be the fixed annuity itself, if it even comes through, will be the least value we provided throughout that meeting because of everything else he had going on, which is why we do the 2-meeting process.
Right. Yeah. So that's the gist of today's case study. I know you might be tired of hearing it. We're not tired of saying it. We are very, we have conviction about the way we do things, why we do the way we do things. We don't want to just sell a product to make a sale to line our pockets. We basically want to make sure that we're doing the right thing at all times in a fiduciary capacity for anybody that we come into contact with, and whether that means that we're turning away business, which a lot of cases, we do turn away business because we don't want to. We just don't want to do anything that's going to leave somebody worse off than when we started, or we just want to make sure as we build the practice and being in business for as long as we have, our reputation means a lot more to us than just making a single sale.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've become a lot more comfortable with providing people with this process and letting them know how we work, because I found being transactional and thinking in that way, you never know if you're accidentally going to hurt somebody. It's not even malicious. You don't mean to. It's not just a cash and grab where we're just trying to plug some money in something, but down the road you find out that they had X, Y, and Z, and now they need this money and they can't grab it. They never thought they would need it, but it's important for us to see the whole picture so that we can tell you if it's even right for you. So that's why I like it.
So to wrap up, if you want to get on our newsletter list, you can just give us a call at the office or send Ryan or I an email. You can find that information listed on the podcast notes. We do every single month mail out a paper newsletter. It's kind of cool. It's some financial stuff, some personal stuff, some whatever we decide that we're going to put in there that month. The second thing is if you are interested in this type of process, we charge $300 for 2 meetings, which you get 2 financial advisors, you get 2 meetings, you get our years of expertise and help in the areas that we're able to help you in, and we can also, if we're not able to help you in certain areas, if you need a CPA or an attorney, we've got a good network of people that we know that we can refer you to. So if you're interested in going through that process, it's the cost of having. If you ever had a plumber or electrician come to your house, it's about what it costs for them to come out for an hour, and we're putting into it a lot more than that. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to get in touch with us. Ryan and I are more than happy to meet with you. So anything else to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so that's this edition for our case study, the Financial Advocate Podcast. We look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks.